Welcome to the 2018 Canadian University Ultimate Championships. We are here with the Women's Division I Championship game. The University of Laval, the reigning champions, facing off against Queens. The last time these two met last year in the semifinal, Queens, winners in 2016, were defeated on Universe Point. Back looking for redemption now as this will get underway. Laval in the red on offense. Immediately swinging to the far side, and the zone pressure too much right off the bat. Queens an immediate chance for the break. Ramich has Moyer in the reset space and finds her. Looking for the next option. Ho, some time to trail that down. Lost some footing there, a bit of contact. Does well to keep that disc in her hands. It's like just a bit of shaken up.
So Ho takes a knock early on, and she was a huge figure for them. Everything that Queens have been doing on Saturday today has been building to this moment. They have gone from strength to strength. They were 8-5 up at half against McGill in their quarterfinal. They won that game 14-5. Then going up against basically their nemesis this season in the form of Waterloo in their semi-final, they played their best ultimate of the tournament and ran them out 15-6. Incredibly impressive, especially considering how close their game was yesterday as well. Queens are at their peak performance, so even when you lose someone like Kehoe, who has to come off with the injury, you've got someone of the caliber of Win G coming straight on for her.
So G right away in possession of the disc, getting the reset back to the middle, does well to hang on to that one, and Villanueva-Smith moves it right away to Ramich. Finding G. Person defense here as Laval puts on the pressure, but that one into the end zone. Cloutier going for the bid, but Queens opened the championship game with a break, 1-0.
So I was speaking to Paul Renault before the game, and I overheard as they were gathering together, one of the captains come to him and just say, yep, we're starting up at the top of the pitch on defense. And he went, yes, that's exactly what we wanted. And I thought, given the inherent advantage of starting on O that a lot of people take, it's always interesting to find out why people want D. Their whole ethos about this game is put the pressure on Laval. That's exactly what they've done on that first point. So first point, mission accomplished. Now they have at most 28 more of them to go.
So we'll see if they can continue that pressure and momentum all the way through the course of the game. We've seen it, one quick shot at the Laval offense there and an immediate turnover off the first pass. So definitely something that we're likely to see be cleaned up through the course of this game. A very high caliber team here. Of course, the reigning champions from last year. Universe Point win over Queens, and then a commanding victory over the University of Toronto. They're used to these finals. They're used to the pressure situations. Queens, of course, have been here before as well, and we cannot give them enough praise for the start of that game, as Chen here will line up to pull for the team in yellow.
So a dream start for Queens, very much facilitated by their conservatism once they got the disc. Fantastic dumping and swinging until they were able to get the open side shot. So let's see what Laval can do.
Cloutier picks up the zone look here from the paper bag princesses as Cloutier has the reset crashing into the cup. Now over to the sideline here with Boucher. Audrey Cloutier, again, the captain, the main general handler on this offensive unit. Cloutier directing traffic and gets the crash through the cup. Bergeron moves it upfield to Robert. Now looking for an option. Robert open on the sideline, and Cloutier, yards of space. Defender not keeping up as Kinoshita pinches in on that one, and there is the shot to the end zone. Adrienne Prue with the goal, and Laval answer back with a clean point.
And a consummate response. And you have got to say, Audrey Cloutier, captain of this Laval side, absolutely taking charge on that point. And Laval do pride themselves on having quite a deep team who don't need to rely too much on one or two people. But when you are the captain, when you are required to lead, take charge at the start of the game, settle your squad down. Cloutier doing exactly that in perfect fashion.
So now our first look here at the Laval defensive unit. Some new faces on this team. A team with a lot of experience on their side as well.
if you want to talk about some of that experience coming out of the club scene, 3 of the players on this team were the captains of CUUC over the summer. Emile Bergeron, as well as Charlotte Latulippe and Elisabeth Turcotte. So that's the kind of experience they have. Those aren't even the captains of the university side, and they're captaining one of the prominent club teams from Quebec.
So right away, Laval pulling with Elisabeth Turcotte, one of those CUUC captains. They will head downfield with Win G here on offense for Queens. Puts it over to Whitman. Fellow teammates there moving it quickly through, and a throw above the cup just narrowly makes it in, and now Craig dishing it to G. Has Law moving it back now to Win G, opting to fake off the inside shot. G instead, nice shoulder fake and throws around the mark. Craig on the end zone line. Has G in the middle. G showing good patience here as she finds Craig again just behind her. G gets low just to make sure that one stays in her possession. Then the little pop over the shoulder into the hands of Craig, and Queens answering back with a good hold of their own.
Excellent stuff from the offensive unit of Queens, coming out and doing exactly what they needed to do. The high release flick over the top of the zone, I really thought Jean Girard was going to be able to come in and get that block. Excellent composure by Queens and just getting the job done, doing their coach very proud. They're espousing all of the ethoses he was talking to me about before this game with that play.
And Kirsten Craig there working so well with Win G, going 1 and 2 on most of the passes near the end zone, but a good job there from the stack to create space to allow that to happen, recognizing that they had the mismatches and they found a balance to make that work for them as well. So 2-1 early in this championship final here. Queens leading an early break, the very first point of the game, the only one of the match so far. See if that can continue here as Ramich will line up, captain of this team and central D-line player here. Cloutier, central for Laval, also back out on offense here as Ramich lines up to pull.
So we'll see just how much more pressure Queens will be able to exert on Laval.
Now into the middle here. Bergeron finds Cloutier. Lots of pressure from the zone, and Cloutier trying to put it through the middle. Didn't have many options. Andrea Moyer now over to Ramich. Ramich has the under option in Sophie Proust. Now Nguyen. Resetting to Moyer. Over to Ramich, who gets high and does well on the second attempt. Bobbled off her hands. Lays out to keep it in possession. Fakes the inside shot. Opts for the reset. Villeneuve-Smith hits Ramich again. Good poach defense there from Laval to get in the lane. Stopping that upfield shot as now Ramich trying to find something. The defense here so tight into the end zone. The pressure this time, but Erin Villeneuve-Smith manages to keep it in her control, and another break here for Queens, up by 2.
I have fallen in love with this D-line offense. Every game I've watched over the last 3 days, I haven't seen D-line offense that efficient. Okay, yes, so they got the disc both times within the opponent's half, but they threw at least 30 passes, it seemed like that time. Just keep recycling it, keep dumping it. A poach goes into the open side. Rather than try to force it, recognize that there's an open dump, hit it immediately. That is textbook offense, and it's being done by the D-line, which makes it even more impressive, because that's kind of where you put your hotheads. That's where you put your reckless players, the kind of people who are very athletic and have that adrenaline up, but to then have that composure on the other side. And that zone was stifling, and that zone is what's gotten them here defensively. I mean, it shut down Waterloo, it shut down McGill, and it looks right now to be at least messing with Laval. I wouldn't go as far as say shut down. They're too good for that.
I think just getting in their heads at the very start of this game, Laval maybe need to take a couple points here, talk to their O-line off the field. You can see that they put some new faces on, so maybe just readjusting. Cloutier taking this one off, figuring out how they're going to beat that zone on the next point.
And so the chess pieces begin to move.
And Turcotte moves that to La Tulipe right away. Turcotte again in the middle here. The zone from Queens, stifling as ever. Running out of options, has La Tulipe crashing in. No options for upfield movement here for Laval as they find, luckily hanging on to that disc. Turcotte going 1 and 2 here, managed to find a little hole, very narrow space.
And finally they're able to swing it around the cup.
And being able to use that crash to their advantage, making the cup move to cover it. Now they've got some open space on their hand with Fortier on the disc. To the break side now here, Laval moving it upfield with Hamill. Layout grab from La Tulipe keeps it in possession here. Low on reset options, but has a cut going to the back corner of the end zone, and the bid is just not close enough. That disc sailing too far away from her hand.
Jean Girard slowed down momentarily when she thought the disc wasn't coming, and La Tulipe, it was a beautiful throw to the back corner, exactly what the throw needed to be. If you're going to start a cut, you have to finish it.
Ramich now see if that D-line offense can do it again, but this time the cut from Law was changing direction and now into the end zone, and Laval answers with a hold, managing to get it back this time from the defensive line of Queens.
So a slight misunderstanding followed by another slight misunderstanding. You saw Queens not quite prepared to get the ball going as quickly as the handlers thought they were. I am a little bit concerned with Laval's play against that zone, at least initially. They had the two dump handlers when the disc is in the middle of the pitch, pushing up the pitch slightly. So in a V formation going towards the end zone, you're trying to score. Whereas what you'd like is a V formation ever so slightly the opposite one. An easy around break to the sideline, and then you cut up the line to get it back near to the middle of the pitch and receive it in between the cups to throw back through it. Now, the other option, which they did right before causing the melt from the Queen's defense, which was very good, was somebody crashes into the cup, and that causes the cup to contract, opening up a throw that's a little bit downfield. However, you don't have to just do that, and it took them a while to recognize that as well. It seems almost like they're relying on just the crashes and trying to throw through the cup, which allows the cup to really focus on whoever's directly in front of them and not worry so much about the people on either sideline.
So we'll see if they can make those adjustments, if they can get the disc back on offense here. Haven't seen this Queens O-line have to play too much defense yet. That pull going to sail to the far sideline of the field and land just inbounds as Law centers that to G. A zone look here from Laval. G has the reset back and immediately finding the swing over to Whitman. Now into the middle for Craig. Craig finds an option upfield with Chen. G does well to grab that one and immediately moving it up line to Chen. Forcing the melt here as Laval did a good job to transition to person defense as G moves it around to Proust. Back to G in the middle. Central handler goes for the high release backhand. Craig waiting again. G every other pass right now and going to the end zone looking for Chen. That one just too far out of her reach.
Slightly dropping down, but you could see how effective Queens were. They had the easier dump pass that was ever so slightly back, immediately swing it, and the gaps that opened they're able to attack through. Execution error right at the end of it, but with some fantastic offense by Queens. But like you say, let's see what they can do once they cough out the disc.
So Cloutier, having moved over to this D-line now for Laval, is trying to help find some ways out of this zone as they're trapped in the corner. Cloutier on the disc. Running low on options, has a reset. Laval on these resets always crashing into the cup at the same time. Now Cloutier again. Another good crash as they find a hole through the cup with Prue moving it quickly now. Bergeron finds Cloutier. And another break side shot there. Moving it up the field. Bergeron. The melt has been called here for Queens. Laval upfield gets low there but retains possession, and Boucher has Cloté back. Cloté now going every other pass for Laval. See her point there to the end zone, wanting the next cut. Running low on options, is going to put it up. Has an option in the space, and Prue comes down with it, elevating over the figure of Proust there. Andrienne Prue, a huge sky for the point.
Excellent, patient offense by Laval's D-line. You could see the impact of bringing the likes of Cotier over onto it to help settle them down, but still, zone was placed on them, front corner of the end zone. There's not a whole lot of wind. It's actually probably the nicest it's been all weekend right now, but that is just fitting as this is the biggest game of the weekend. So, brilliant response, excellent composure, took advantage of the missed throw. I don't imagine there's going to be too many more of them, but they cashed it in when they were given the opportunity. Worth noting on the previous point as well, they were able to prevent a further break, so they've tied the game back up, although they did start the half on offense, so they need another break to avoid that cash-in opportunity on the other side of half-time. I do have to commend both sides have phenomenal melt defenses. That is not an easy thing to do, and Laval did theirs silently, or virtually silently. You barely even noticed. That is team cohesion at its finest.
And doing it very quickly, in addition to how silent it was. An incredible talent to be able to do that and to have that communication. The sideline, I'm sure, helping with that one. So one break back here for Laval as that pull goes out of bounds. Queens still leading by a break, but this one currently tied at 3s. G will walk it in to the brick mark and a zone set up right away from Laval. Laval with their familiar D-line back on the field. The likes of Turcotte and Latulippe in the zone here as Moyer has it and finds G. G looks upfield and doesn't find anything. Opts to go back to Moyer. Moyer finds Whitman. Good crash into the cup, and that's how they find a space through it. Craig now moving upfield to Law, and Law already thinking about the next decision. Just turned her head ever so slightly, and it doesn't take very much. Now Turcotte looking to calm her team down, moves it upfield right away. Baudouin shooting that one upfield. Now on the far sideline, Jean Girard looking for the next option, going to the end zone. That one's going to sail towards the back corner and doing everything she could to try to get up for that. But again, that back corner, that's the third time we've seen a disc sail too far over there.
I was just thinking that myself, and I think that could be down to just the adrenaline of the moment. I've always felt anyway, now the flick is my weak throw, but I always felt it's a little bit more susceptible to the conditions. Windy, flicks get harder. You're tired, your flicks get harder. You feel the tension and the adrenaline in your body, your flicks are going to go a little bit further, and it just seems like that keeps happening.
And that one, Whitman runs it down very well. Queens moving it right away here, back out on offense as G in possession, moves it to Craig. Trying to find those openings through the cup. G doing well to gain some yards there for Queens. Has Craig over top, a little bit of pressure, but Craig always had that one in front of her. Getting low there, Chen with the layout, retaining possession once again. Queens putting it on the line here. G surveying. Person defense again here from Laval. Has Chen in the middle. Chen goes to the sideline and just a fingertip touch to the disc. Daphne Gauvert with the tiny touch and enough to push it away from the outstretched arms of Moyer.
Fantastic work by Gauvert to close that gap. Picked her angle perfectly and picked the pocket of Queens.
And Latulippe immediately shooting over the wall, trying to get some momentum here. Baudouin puts that one up in a bid, but it's too far away from the hall. And G wanted to put that one right away, but recognized that Law had started her cut under. Now G upfield thinks about the put again, faking it off. Has Moyer going up line. Moyer on the doorstep. Queens looking for a hold here. Had Chen on that open side, didn't recognize the open cut. Now into the middle and over to the near sideline. Tessa Whitman finds the reset and another picked off D. Gobert again on that matchup with Moyer, gets her hand to it first.
Fantastic defensive effort by Gobert.
So La Tulipe, a chance here for Laval to go most of the way down the field, trying to get another break and put us back on serve. So they are on the far sideline now with Fortier. Turcotte again now, swinging it all the way around. A great swing all the way over here to Baudouin. Now La Tulipe in the middle. Whitman was putting on some pressure, and Turcotte unleashes a huck into the deep space. Craig left her player unguarded, and another break here from Laval. They lead by 1.
Fantastic response from Laval. They go 3-1 down. They suffer a break in the opening point of the game. They keep their composure. They take their time. They just called a timeout. I believe that was Audrey St. Arnaud, one of the coaches of this Laval side. Also played on CUUC with several of them, including the other coach, Ariane Tosti. But look at that composure. That is what champions do. They go 3-1 down, opening few points. No stress, no muss, no fess. Take your time. Work it up. 3-point run. I wouldn't be overly concerned if I'm Queens. I don't think Gobert was kind of on a one-woman vendetta to make sure that they didn't score that particular point, but I don't see her getting the better of Moira for an entire game. That's going to be a battle. She just happens to have the upper hand right now. And Queens are doing everything right. It's just slight execution errors. And I suppose when it comes to this elite level, it kind of does break down to that point. It's not whoever makes the most right decisions who wins. It's whoever makes the fewest mistakes.
I think that's going to be critical here, especially with a little bit of wind that we've seen. It does usually pick up in the afternoons here too, so we will likely be seeing a bit more of it as the game goes on. So whoever can value the disc the most in this game and really make sure that they're taking advantage of any turns, any situations where they can have a quick transition and capitalize on those mistakes is really going to be the one we see on the top of the podium at the end of the day here. So Laval finds their way back on top. We're on serve now again in this game. Laval having started on offense, so 4-3, they currently lead.
Just out of shot, you can see on the Queens line, one of their captains, Laura Kinoshita. It was just directing her troops. Now, it's great to see her out there because earlier in the weekend, she had taken a little bit of a knock. She's considered questionable coming into this game due to the injury sustained on her shoulder. She's out there on the line right now, ready to help lead her team back to the promised land.
It's got the USA National Championships next weekend with the Toronto Sixers, so wasn't sure she was going to play in this event, but
you try staying on the sideline for this one.
On the pitch here for the final. And now the disc being moved to the far side here for Queens. Ramic thought about putting it back to G. Ramic crossing over to the O-line here, and that one dropped. Looked like it was picked off, but it did also look like it was in the hands of Villeneuve-Smith. So we'll see if there's a resolution here and a call after the call being made.
It's always difficult in these close situations. I mean, did you have control? Then it's a strip call. Were you about to gain control and somebody hit your body, causing you to lose your opportunity? And that could be a foul. And it is nice, although hopefully no one back in Europe hears me say this, specifically Patrick van der Valk, who may disown me. But I am starting to come around to this observer thing. It's nice. Like, the authority figure doesn't have to be called upon, but it's a useful resource to just have available. And things like line calls should never decide a game. So I appreciate that. And then everything else, where it is a little bit more dictated by spirit, and it is difficult for someone who's not playing, because it's not an empirical thing that they can just observe from the sideline, like contact on the force, contact when people are going up for plays together, the general level of violence between two players over the course of a game. These are all debates that we have that are ongoing. It's one of the best aspects of the sport, in my opinion. But for that kind of authority, just to speed it up, bring a little bit of clarity, and an option you can choose to go to, I enjoy that particular remit for the observer idea.
So that one resolved nicely there. A contested foul call, so the disc did return to the hands of Ramic, as now G has it, and Kinoshita doing so well to get open. Swinging it around to G. Ramic. Back to G, and G just, that one falling away from her. Didn't make sure either. The disc back in the hands of Laval, and now Cloutier in possession. Swung to the far side for Boucher.
Brilliant work by Ramic after throwing that turn to just cover the deep until every player on Laval had been picked up.
It's a big under there from Prue. Cloutier going up line. Huge bid. Keeps that one in the hands of this Quebec side, and Cloutier going up line, but that one shot too far over, and Kinoshita tracking it down to make sure there could be no second effort, as now Ramic puts it back into play here with Queens and looking for an option. The zone look. Kinoshita going up line, and another huge layout. Injured shoulder.
How?
But comes down, and again, Queens and Laval putting everything on the line right now. G. Upfield to Villeneuve-Smith. And a pick called in the middle of the stack.
Well, thank goodness for that, because let's take a moment and let's just rewind that one briefly. Guité Villet got a hand to that disc. She hit the top of it. So it was already about knee height at best, and she made it forcefully go lower. So she changed the speed at which it was approaching the ground, the angle at which it was approaching the ground, and the distance from the ground. And yet still somehow Kinoshita got a hand underneath it and collected it. That is remarkable.
And now G through the contact.
You got to respect that.
Just surveying the option. Good patience there. Didn't have a mark on her. Didn't try to force anything. And now upline looking for Kinoshita. Such a presence here for this Queens team. Ramic, her Sixers teammate, with the disc now. Swings back to G. And a phenomenal cut. Laura Kinoshita just leaves her defender turning in circles, and Queens tie this one back up.
She's got layout catches, she's got throws to start the offense, and she's got cuts to finish it. Kinoshita, phenomenal player, coming out and leading from the front. Exactly what they needed. Ties it back up at fours. But this Queens team prides themselves on their defense. They pride themselves on being able to put some pressure on Laval, and they just endured a lot themselves in that instance. One slightly overthrown Coutier pass away from being 5-3 down.
Absolutely, and I think Queens, they look ready to do that again on this point. They look ready to go out there and put on the pressure like you talked about, Lorcan. They love to do this. This is the position they want to be in. They're on the downwind side, actually still mostly a crosswind, but they're on this side of the field that they seem to enjoy, and they are going to be putting on a big defensive line. Moyer on this D-line has been such a central cutter for them when they do get the disc back on offense as well. Of course, that last point, she was shut down quite a few times by Gobert there as well. So it'll be interesting to see if she can win that matchup this time.
So now, Queens coming down on defense. And a huge pull. Interesting to see if they go match or zone. One would have to assume zone.
The zone has been working for them so far as it sets up now. Baudouin with the disc has Latulippe gain some yards upfield. Fakes the next shot and goes over the top and somehow into the hands of Olivia Fortier. That disc stays in Laval's possession, and now through the cup, working it up the field. But this time Hamel shoots that one too low for Turcotte. And Moyer, a chance to be central here for Queens, looking for a break.
A little bit of poaching downfield in the open lane.
Now up line here, Nguyen gets another option in Young. Proust to the end zone, but an emphatic D. Sabrina Jean-Girard smacks that disc to the ground.
Get that stuff out of my maison.
Turcotte now trapped again down in that corner with the zone. Running out of time, has to go up high, and somehow Jean-Girard again sliding in to keep it in possession. Now Latulippe swings it all the way over, the disc moving to this far side with Baudouin. Turcotte crashing in. has Latulippe. Turcotte following her throw. Looking for an option and opts to go for the big inside-out huck, and this time Green makes no mistake, knows Jean Girard is behind her, and gets to it first.
Lining that one up like a punching bag and just slapping it out of the sky.
Moyer puts it around to Proust. Proust does well to get that around the wall, and now all the way over to Moyer, who's going to opt for the big arcing around throw. And these are the throws we talked about throughout the course of the weekend. With the wind at our backs, that throw has to be perfect if it's going to be put up. And a great layout through the wall. Baudouin retaining possession. Laval, this game is all on right now. Latulippe threading the needle, and now moving up the field. Jean Girard finds Turcotte, fakes the shot to the end zone. Has Baudouin. Laval making this cut move. Putting it now to the far side here with Fortier. Back over to Turcotte. Turcotte, the inside shot, but a run through D. Andrea Moyer coming all the way through. Read that, almost baited it into her hands. And now a deep shot going back the other way. This one will be read and caught here. Miki Kawano takes quite a lot of contact on that play.
Miki Kawano, a rookie for this team. You see how quickly she gets back up? That's because they stole her from the varsity rugby team, so she is well accustomed to taking those kinds of knocks. And that's why they keep sending it deep to her as well. Big, strong player, and fearless to boot.
Kawano looks back to Moyer. Now, upfield here, reeled in by Green. Just on this near sideline. Green looking for Moyer. It's going to sail. Kawano was in that space, but it's brought down. And Laval coming right back with a D of their own. Fortier on that one. Turcotte now threads the needle to Baudouin, who moves it upfield once again. Laval doing a great job with his own. A huge bid this time.
There's only so many times she could do that in a point. Like that's just mean.
And immediately Moyer unleashes, looking for Kawano in the space. And a battle, Turcotte and Kawano.
They really like sending it deep to Kawano. Maybe too much.
Baudouin now. Laval. Their movement upfield with the zone so quickly and smooth. But now a person call here. Match defense from Queens. A good adjustment as that zone was being beaten by Laval. Now back with Latulippe. Latulippe threads the needle again here to Baudouin. Has Turcotte back in the middle. Cutting up line into space. Doesn't go for the huck, but goes inside looking for Turcotte. Bobbled it off her hands. I think Turcotte, waiting for the disc to go further up line, wasn't ready for that inside shot. And now looks like an injury called. Hopefully Turcotte is okay. That would be a big loss for this Laval side.
A real leader for them, spiritually and physically, as she gingerly gets back up onto her feet. And you know there's going to be a lot of reluctance within herself to walk off after that. But she knows it's a long game, and her team needs her out on that pitch.
So the injury subs on to have the likes of Cloutier on the sideline, able to come in for Laval. The big switch, and we saw there that Queens also made a sub. Of course, when there is an injury, when the team with the injury takes a sub, the other team is allowed to take one if they want. So Ramich subbed on, and immediately a timeout called here by Moyer. A good adjustment. There's been a longer point with quite a few turnovers, so good to reel that one in. Halfway through the first half, they want to make sure that they can convert on this.
Definitely. They were starting to look a bit flustered out there. 3 deep shots in a row to Kawano, and I know she's very athletic, but she wasn't open on any of them. Somehow she managed to get the second one. I don't know if she could really be blamed for either of the other two. Jean Girard's position defense on the first deep shot that went to her was fantastic, because she saw Kawano, a little bit inexperienced, just go in. And rather than go for the disc, she comes in to keep her eyes on the disc, but then just stands behind Kawano And that physical presence doesn't allow Kwano to readjust effectively, and all of a sudden you're just not going to have the time to catch a trailing disc.
So we'll see what they can come out with here.
I'd like to see a little bit more of that kind of offense we saw in the first few points from their D-line. Conservative, hard-working. It seemed like they just wanted to score as quick as possible. And this is a huge point. It's 4-4, and they're looking for a break that they can take into half to really capitalize on starting the game on defense in the first half. So I want to see the stuff they've already shown us they can do. You don't need to show us a big, deep game. You've made the passes, so now they know they have to respect the cut at least. They can't just hang someone back there or something like that. Or they can't just let people run deep waiting for them to come back under. They have to respect it. Now work some unders and just keep the disc for a couple of passes.
It looks like here Laval is going to set up in a zone. I think this is smart out of a timeout as well. The nice thing about defense being able to set up after the offense, recognizing that Queen set up in a vertical stack here, is going to have to readjust quickly. So Latulippe on the mark as Moyer will pick up. Moyer immediately resets to Ramic. Now crashing into the cup, Tiana Young. Moyer goes back to Ramic. Now around to Nguyen. Some quick movement here. Short passes for the Queens offense. And you hear the melt call. The melt so early. Most teams waiting until into their own half to call that. Here, recognizing that it's being beat and a run through D, but it looks like another strip called on this one. This time going to be no contest by Jean Girard. So the disc back in play with Green and upfield right away to Ramic. Ramic, the around backhand, but Cloutier is in that space. Was so ready for that one. Straight through the middle to Latulippe, moving the other direction now. Ramic tried to go for the layout bid. Baudouin upfield. Baudouin, the second effort. So much pressure on her back there. Jane Nguyen putting all kinds of defensive pressure on. Queens again, this point continuing for ages. Shooting that one. Ramic was shooting to Moyer. Thought Moyer was continuing further up the field there. Cloutier and Latulippe going 1 and 2. Threading the needle again. The crashes always cutting up into the cup, allowing them to find spaces through the wall as the cup is forced to move. Now Cloutier getting the reset back. Has Baudouin. Baudouin, open receivers in the end zone, just on the doorstep now. Jean Girard for Laval. Looking for what would still be a hold here. Cloutier does well to get low for that one. Bidding to retain possession, so much athleticism on display, and now to the end zone. Latulippe, a great shot. You could see the eye contact turned, stared at Cloutier, and a phenomenal throw. Laval, after such a long point, get a hold here.
Very messy point, lots of back and forth, brilliant work in the end zone. Latulippe was able to get the throw, I believe it was to, was it Govard? The point was she absolutely planted her defender in the ground, made that eye contact. Beautiful throw around. Latulippe went for a similar enough move earlier in the game and slightly overthrew it, so showing you that it just doesn't dent her confidence. While that was quite a messy point and there was an awful lot going on all ends of it, I also want to make sure we mention Sabrina Jean Girard, who was fantastic. She's the one who eventually got that point down. You'd almost want to call her Jean-Luc Girard, by which I mean she's enterprising. And yes, that was a reference to Star Trek for anybody out there listening. So, that was a hold. 5-4. Not the cleanest, by which I mean it was the messiest point of the game. Calling a timeout halfway through and then having another 3 turnovers. But both sides showed what they need to do in order to get it through to the championship. They just have to cut the chaff away from those things. They're getting the D's on the Queen's side of it, and they know how to play their way down, although they just kept getting sucked into an unnecessary long game. Where's that D-line offense that we saw in the first 2 points, or the first few points from this Queen's side? Where has that gone? Is it only initiated once they're within the red zone? That's where the turnovers came the last time. You have to be able to play that the whole way down the pitch. And I think that's an easy enough adjustment to make, and one I'm sure Paul Renard is currently talking to his team about.
So now match defense look here as G putting a big around flick, looking for Kinoshita, and it just drops too low in front of her. There was some traffic in front, so not enough room for her to make a bid. Laval person defense here as well from Queens. Bobbled, but on the second attempt, it's caught. And now moving it around, Gagnon finds Cloutier. The inside break shot. Prue, such a dominant cutter for this Laval team as Cloutier moves it upfield effortlessly with Boucher. Back to Audrey Cloutier and now swung around to the far sideline. Bergeron hits Cloutier going every other throw. Now looking the big pump fake to the end zone. No surprise again who is getting that reset now into the middle here. Bergeron thinks about going to the end zone, but of course has Cloutier back in the middle. Directing traffic there, and now the big inside shot to the other side of the field. Boucher on the doorstep, has an upline cut, but goes back. Cloutier out of her hands. That one, the reset not going to work this time, and Win G just pumps it away and out of the field. Opportunity there, wasted. Had a wide open receiver in Kinoshita, just way too excited on that effort.
You see, she just let the edge pull up as she was trying to throw that out with a bit too much haste. Leads to the blading. I also don't know why she'd want to go back to playing defense, because she spent that point getting rinsed thoroughly by Coutier, who seemed like she could get free on the dump whenever she wanted. I would advise they switch perhaps a more agile player onto Coutier. She keeps going for these convincing up the lines, but you have to bite on planting going in the opposite direction. You don't bite on the up the line, she beats you up the line power position. You bite on the up the line, she plants and she leaves you in the dirt. She goes back to get the easier round. And that is really hampering Queen's ability to put any pressure onto the Laval once they have possession. So I would like to see maybe a personnel switch there and a better matchup against Coutier.
So now the disc is back in play here. Looking for Cloutier up line. Doesn't get her this time. Has to put it deep. Big around. Backhand and elevating for the catch. Sandrine Boucher comes down with it between 4 or 5 people. And now Cloutier again, that inside out backhand. So dangerous here. Cloutier spinning. Loses connection with the disc for a second, but manages to keep it in her possession. This time going to the far side. Cloutier coming back into the middle. Fakes the option to the open side. Has the cut now coming to the break. Low on options. And that one through traffic. Manages somehow to catch it. That one bobbled and then rolled over onto her stomach. And Laval get a break.
Getting a little bit fortunate with that one, but that's just hunger in a crowd. She's the one who comes up with it. Fantastic effort. Coutier running the show right now, and she spent the previous possession breaking them backhand at will. Those insides to the opposite sideline. This time around, a little bit better from Craig, able to get low, put more pressure on him. It was fantastic end zone defense by Queens. And in the end, just raw hunger seemed to be the only thing Laval had left to go to, as everything else was stopped. But it worked out for them.
Incredible play here from the Université Laval. And they lead by 2 points, 6-4. We did have a 2-point lead early in this game. Queens going up 3-1 right at the start. Laval obviously able to climb back into this one, so we'll see if Queens can find a response before we reach half.
And that was a 3-point run by Laval to get themselves back into this game, and now they're after adding another break on top of it. Really starting to look confident. Look like the team that we were hearing talk about all day yesterday, the reigning champions, showing Queens that if they want this particular crown, they're going to have to fight them a long, long time for it.
An unfortunate pull there from Turcotte. Looked like it just slipped out of her hands as she went to release, so going low and sliding still in their own end of the field. Moyer going for the huck, and Kawano had also turned her head, wasn't looking to the right position for that disc. Again, forcing it to Miki Kawano on that play. And now the underpass. Laval, a chance to extend their lead to 3. Thibault with the disc now on the far sideline. Has Baudouin streaking up line. This time doesn't have to bid to keep that one in her hands. High release over and around now to Fortier. Fortier has the around shot. Laurent with the disc. La Tulipe in the middle. Laval set up an avert stack and now going towards the end zone. Kawano lost it for a second but found it on the second effort. And good job there from Kawano. Turned her head, took her a second but was able to find that disc.
Fantastic block. Head on a swivel as it needs to be.
And that one straight into the poach defense. Baudouin ready now to Laurent. Laurent had Baudouin going up line but missed the opportunity, but La Tulipe fills the space. La Tulipe on the doorstep. Running out of options, swings it around, and that one's picked off. Kawano, a fantastic D, read that one all the way.
Going up against the much more experienced Turcotte as well, showing her athleticism as well as her intelligence, and she immediately goes deep.
Moyer just losing balance slightly there. Now over to Proust, who finds Ramage, and Ramage, big pump fake there. It's gonna call an injury, felt something as she went to put up that fake.
And that is a potentially huge loss for Queens, as she's so relied upon for her throwing and for her leadership as well. Speaking before this game to Paul Renault, the coach of Queens, they're saying we're definitely going to try and test them deep, because you know Quebec teams do have a bit of that reputation for being give and go, focused on that kind of style, hard running and then just catching it in with aplomb. So they said they probably don't play that much against deep. We want to really push them in that department. We've got great throwers, we've got athletes to go collect it, but I haven't liked the shots. They've transitioned from throwing it away on those deep shots to just turning them down. So here we'll go and see how this one works out.
And La Tulipe should have caught that one, didn't quite make sure. Almost a second effort attempt there for Queens, but now La Tulipe pump faking the other way. Looking for an option, running low on them. That one's gonna blade low, and Proust gets there just ahead of Thibault. So G, the sub here for Ramage, picking up the disc, finds Whitman in the middle. Whitman puts that around to Moyer. Moyer inside to G. G looking for an option and has Proust on the far sideline. And that one, Proust had an open Kawano, but that disc was always being pushed down towards the ground. Now La Tulipe looking to center to Turcotte, who watches that as it floats. That one comes around into the hands of Thibault. Eugenie Thibault, and a layout attempt from Chen, but La Tulipe gets it, and then colliding in the middle of the field, G and Robert. No call on the play. Neither of them had a play on that throw. And G, another longer point here. Both teams fighting for the disc. See if Queens can take advantage this time. They need to get another hold in here. Keep this game within one as Kawano gets it on the near sideline. Finds Moyer. G laying out, but that one goes too low and away from her hand. Laval, now this one back and forth again on this point.
I did like the reaction of Robet, as she seemed to be waiting for a foul call that never came. And there is a timeout. Another smart decision, as this game starting to descend a little bit into madness, into pandemonium. But that particular brand of chaos, certainly the type that Laval have been capable of climbing so far, and looking to do so again if they can come out of this timeout and punch it in. Remember the last time we were in this situation, it was Queens looking for the break. They went to the timeout. If they punched that in, they would have been able to retake the lead. They haven't since and have been slipping. So now they have to come out and correct some of these missteps that they've made as the half has worn on.
We'll see if they can sort that one out.
To me, now this is just to me, it looks like they're just throwing it away on deep shots. And none of them are coming particularly high in the stall count. For the most part, it looks like they can get free on the dump. So it just seems perplexing. Is there something I'm missing here?
No, I think at this point that they just need to calm down a little bit and take a deep breath. They started this game so strongly, looking so efficient and disciplined, and they've just lost a little bit of that discipline with the three-point run that Laval went on the other way. So maybe just putting their heads down a little bit, need to reset, refocus, and get a couple in here before half. We are at about 45 minutes on the clock, just over actually. So likely a timed half coming soon. These points have been going on for quite some time though, so hard to say when that halftime cap would have come on. Turcot will start with the disc. Turcot with the disc on the far sideline as Kwano brings us back into play here. Going straight for the inside shot, and then that one floating up, but Whitman unaware that it was behind her, and Latulippe able to come down with it. Now Baudouin finds Turcot in the middle. Shot, inside flick to the end zone, doing well, extending to get to that one, and just like that, Laval up by 3 points in the championship game.
That is a very impressive score from a very impressive side. Queens came into this game and immediately punched Laval in the mouth. And how much... Everybody's got a plan until they get punched in the mouth. Laval managed to retain theirs. They didn't get shook. They went 3-1 down, collected themselves, 4-3 up, and ever since then they have been just improving, strength upon strength. Now they find themselves 7-4, 3 points up, and with a chance to take half here.
And Queens needing a little bit of fire and energy. And you can just hear on the far sideline, captain of the men's team, they just won the championship of their own, yelling at his teammates to come on the sideline to support the women here as well. Good leadership, trying to create some energy. This team could use some support right now. They've got a bit of a hole, bit of a mountain to climb, and they're going to want to start doing it before Laval can bring it into half.
I'm going to give a shout out to Robinson, who did promise me that I'd be able to hear him during this final. And he is the one who seemed to at least initially marshal those troops and get them to come over here.
So a power line here for Queens on offense. Kinoshita back on the field. Whitman and G, Craig, Ramich, Law. A great line out, and they will see if they can convert a hold. Get their D-line back on the field, but an offside was called on the play.
So they're going to have to let that one go back. But I agree with you completely. Now is the time for action from Queens, and they have definitely put out the closest thing that I can see resembling a power line so far in this game. A lot of big names, a lot of people they can really rely upon. And hopefully, as much as I'm a huge fan of her, maybe the fact that Kwano isn't out there, they'll stop just recklessly throwing deep shots to her.
So that disc, the pull, sailing to the far side of the field. G centers to Ramich. Does well to keep that in her possession. Has Kinoshita on the near sideline. Kinoshita faking Ramich off on the reset. Goes for the break shot and a foul called on the mark. Looks like no contest, so it will come back in on one. Players upfield just resetting slightly. Kinoshita, inside shot to G, but it's turned over again. G didn't know if there was a teammate behind her, didn't make sure, and now Cloutier with the disc. Foul called in the middle of pit called, some congestion there. A chance here for Laval to break to take half.
And this is a critical moment. So Queens
Disc in play now. Robert with the disc. Looks upfield and finds the receiver in Gute Verre and up line. And that one poached off. Laura Kinoshita, aware that that throw was coming, gets the D, and now Ramich in the middle. Kinoshita on the far sideline. Has G streaking up line, looking for her, but it's shot too far out of her hands again. The second miscommunication now between Kinoshita and G, and you have to wonder, Kinoshita not being able to play the last few days, how that has affected any kind of chemistry here, as now the disc back in possession with Isis Robert. Looking for Bergeron up line. Cloutier back in the middle. Cloutier going for the around backhand, jumping, backing up into the end zone. Isabelle Goutet-Verre does so well to know where she is, and Laval break. They're going to take half 8-4.
A fantastic hop backwards in, and right now Queens just look out of sorts. However, and I think this is an important thing to mention, they are still getting turns. They're still capable of doing that. If they can tighten up and return their offensive style to that which got them through the semi-final so emphatically, that got them through the first half, and then they cleaned it up for a much more impressive second half in their quarter-final. This game is far from out of their hands despite the fact that they're 8-4 down. This is one of the few times that I've actually said that on a stream when I genuinely believe it. If they can just tighten up on the offensive end, they have looked completely apart from the team that they were earlier today, ever since going 3-1 up and suffering the 3-point lead, or the 3-point run that Laval went on subsequently. Laval just need to keep doing what they're doing. They could turn it over slightly less on offense, that'd be nice. But
so we're going to take a quick break here. We'll be back in just a couple minutes. Second half action, women's championship game here in Brampton. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Second half action. 2018 Canadian University Ultimate Championships, the final game of the day here in Brampton. The Women's Division I Championship game. Laval taking on Queens, the reigning champions, currently leading 8-4 after a convincing first half, starting that one off with Queens actually going up 3-1, and then since then they've just been off to the races.
And they've looked incredibly compelling doing so. Fantastic plays across the board. Coutier has been absolutely leading a team, but Robet, Bergeron, Jean-Gerard, Goutier-Verlet, just some of the names that have really made stamps here in the final.
So now, Queens looking for a response right away with G on offense here. G has Craig on the far sideline. Craig scoops that one into her possession. Now looking to Whitman. Tess Whitman resets to G in the middle. G, the little shoulder fake around, and Whitman again. Now to the end zone. That one had the open receiver, and it's the second time we've seen this, an open throw, but the throw itself going too low and into the ground.
An unfortunate misthrow as Queens are starting to look like the team that went 3-1 up on Laval at the start of this game.
So a big undercut now to Prue. Prue looking back to Cloutier. Big defense here from Proust as Cloutier goes for the undershot. G trying to get some pressure on to Baudouin, and enough that Baudouin, off balance, puts that one into the turf.
A little unexpected, but these kind of things do happen. You got to take into account how tired these ladies are. They've been playing for 2 long days at this point.
Queens need to take advantage now. Whitman looking up line, scooped up by Law. Law, the reset to G. G to the end zone. Big around shot, but only one receiver in that space. 2 Laval defenders. No problem for Baudouin, who picks it off and goes directly to Cloutier. Cloutier asking for the next cut, and Proust recognizes it. Gets there first, and a big hand on that D.
Excellent stuff from Proust, helping spare the blushes of Queens and keep their hope alive.
Whitman finds Chen under, but a pick called in the stack didn't affect the outcome of the throw. Chen looking for an option. Gets G back, and G just out of her fingertips, claps her hands together in frustration. Now under, G trying to put the pressure on Cloutier. Shot, Bergeron to the end zone.
And again, we see that old enemy giving too much of the underside of the disc to our sideline. And we've seen turnover after turnover all weekend long from our booth. Again, you just want to keep it a little bit flatter. So now Queens get another chance.
Really need to take advantage. We talked about valuing the disc in the first half, something that Queens needs to do now. G going over to Proust. Proust looking for the next option. Whitman with the undercut. Now to G. But there was a call slightly earlier. A pick called.
You can see how far at the start of that play the defenders for Laval are stacking into the poach side or into the open side, just poaching off, daring the Queen's Cutters to either go break side for an around throw or to attack them directly and try to beat them. Eventually they're able to get it to the around side, but they're going to need to start focusing a lot more pressure onto the break side of the pitch if Laval are willing to just give them that much of it.
Whitman now looking for an option. Cloutier shutting G down. Now Whitman has to put it. Queens looking a bit frustrated now. Not able to get open on the reset there, and Cloutier, always dangerous with the disc in her hands, puts it to Prue. Bergeron now. That one here to Robert, up line. Bergeron again. That one going to the end zone, sailing to the left, and it's reeled in. Makes no mistakes this time. And the point, the goal here, Laval in control in the final, 9-4.
Substantial lead by Laval, and they are looking stronger and stronger with each point as it goes on. That's another break the Queens have suffered, but you can see some of the leaders out there, like Ramich and G, trying to pick up their squad, lift them for the final few points of this game. Bear in mind though, the hard cap rules do apply in every single match, much like in the open final where the game ended and Queens were crowned champions while still having a point to play, which was a unique experience for me watching a final of a tournament. So it becomes even more imperative for Queens to get back in this game quickly, which I suppose could lead to them taking more deep shots, and I'm fairly convinced that insistence on deep shots is what cost them such a large lead right now.
I have to completely agree with you there. They just started to force it in the latter part of that first half, going so smoothly through the first part, the first few points, looking very much in control at the start, going up 3-1, and then starting to get too excited, starting to force too many of those deep opportunities, and then not taking advantage when they have been able to get the turns back from Laval here. They've got to find an answer. Moyer in the middle. Has Ramich coming under. Some pressure on defense, but Ramich makes sure. And now Kinoshita getting herself into yards of space. Centering to Ramich. Now Moyer. Main handlers here as Ramich gets it again and goes looking for Kinoshita in the end zone, but a strip called. That one hadn't left her hand yet. Disc in possession now. Lana Ramich. Kinoshita does well to adapt to come under. Going towards the end zone, but it's picked off on defense. Turcotte was ready in that space and read it better than any of the Queens players there. Laval just that head above right now.
Everything they're going for just seems to be working. Offensively and defensively, they are locked in and fired up.
La Tulipe in the middle. Moyer close to that one. But moving it across the field, getting a bit stuck first in La Tulipe. Does well to bring that one in. No options upfield, a bit stagnant, and La Tulipe has to put it. Kinoshita gets a fingertip to that, but Jean Girard, again, that disc sailing into her hands. Now La Tulipe to the end zone on the break side, and Laval, Cedrine Laurent with the score. Double digits here for the Quebec side.
10-4, good buddy, and it's starting to look unresuscitatable for the Queen's side. La Tulipe recognized the toe was getting high and there wasn't a dump coming, just waved vaguely, I'm putting this long, threw it up. Jean Girard on the other end, able to take it, well, even with Kinoshita, who is a fantastic defender and athlete, able to take it down over anyway. Jean Girard just has this focus, this vice-like grip with her hands, but it's more like a vice-like grip in her mind. She is unflappable. Able to take that one down. Nice, confident, quick play as they all rushed forward. You can see how much Laval want to retain their title.
Laval, all engines firing right now. Said it perfectly, Lorcan. They look ready to get the repeat title, repeat champions here. 10-4, Queens running out of time for an answer. 15 minutes to go. They would have to go on a run, and it would have to be quick. That pole is going to sail just past halfway, sitting near the brick mark. G. Over to Proust. Proust has the undershot there. Aulak with that disc and can't get it to her teammate, looking for Janice Lowe. Another turnover gifted back to this Laval team as Cloutier has it and has a big undergain there with Prue immediately dishing back to Cloutier. Now Bergeron. Under again, that one popped off, and this time Lowe does well to get that one smacked to the ground for no second attempt.
So now G picking it up. You really feel Ramich went off with an injury earlier, and a lot of pressure and a lot of responsibility has fallen onto G's shoulders in this match.
So Proust looking for G up line and shoots it too low and too far in front. A mistake we've seen more than once today. Those low shots in front of the handlers unable to be received. And now Laval again moving their classic vertical stack set here. Gutevere shoots that around to Bergeron. Now Cloutier. Under to Prue. Cloutier with the disc, looking to the end zone. That one blading around and just lost in the air. Sandrine Boucher got turned around as she went to try to catch that one. G. Possession back for Queens. G getting frustrated, has no options. Has to put it bleeding around towards Proust, and you could hear G, as soon as she tapped it in, she said no one, and her teammates not even recognizing nobody had started their cut. Got to start those cuts before the disc is tapped in order to set it up properly, and now Laval can really secure this victory with this point as Cloutier has it. Cloutier thinking about her decisions wisely now, and Prue ever so dominant in the cutting lanes. Another upline option, Bergeron. Now Gutevere on the end zone line. Lowe putting on a good mark to stop any upline options, but Cloutier easily gets the around break. Cloutier in the middle again, no surprises there. Going again for the break and into the end zone. G laying out on the mark, but it's not enough. Laval well on their way to a gold medal, leading 11-4.
Excellent, excellent stuff from Laval, with once again Cloutier marshalling the troops, leading them down the pitch. But that kind of consistent, relaxed offense is something they've been able to do more and more of as the lead has gotten bigger. As the pressure has fallen away from them, they have risen to greater heights, and it just becomes so difficult for Queens. The lead gets bigger, the time gets shorter, your morale starts to drop, and your opponents only get better with each passing point. That was some fantastic offensive flow. Of course, directed by Cloutier, who is just phenomenal.
Going almost every other pass for this Laval team so far. Absolutely, in my opinion, the MVP of this Laval side. She has been all over the field. See, Queens wanting to hold their heads high. Gotta think at this point, with about 10 minutes remaining, almost impossible to climb this mountain now. But definitely wanting to finish strong. They're down 11-4 and really just changed halfway through that first half and into the favor of Laval,
who haven't looked back. They are currently 3-0 up in the second half, looking incredibly confident. But like you say, it's about pride now for Queens. And as my father used to say, it doesn't matter if you win, you just have to go down swinging.
And Ramich putting up a big huck, looking for Moyer, trying to get into that space, but Baudouin had the body position the whole way through. Moyer on the mark now as Latulippe picks up. Has the upline shot and just too far away, out of the fingertips of Laurent. Ramich will pick up here. Ramich has Whitman in the middle. Whitman bobbled off her hands. Another mistake here. Baudouin will pick up for Laval. Faking to find the inside shot there. Reset to Latulippe. Could see Kawano there running down the back, but can't get in front of Fortier, and now Fortier goes up line again, beating Kawano. And that one looked like Whitman just got a tiny touch on it, enough to push it away from the outstretched arms of Laval. Time ticking down here as Ramich centers to Moyer. Moyer upfield. Villanueva-Smith puts it up to Whitman. Whitman has Kawano going, but it's going to sail to the left. And again, that disc being put up with the edge towards our booth here, and it's being pushed away by the wind every time.
Up until that final throw, it looked a little bit like Queens had rediscovered a bit of mojo. Sweeping down the pitch.
The backhand break through Kawano there, and now into the middle with Laurent. Looking for Jean Girard. Baudouin. And a run through D. Moyer gets her own D back here. Ramich thinks about the huck the first time, goes around the blade the second time, and Moyer this time, now a great leading throw into space. Moyer got so low on that flick into Kawano, and a goal, a point here, a hold for Queens.
Fantastic. Catch by Moyer as well to read the disc perfectly, get nice low in the crouch, get her body behind it, take the disc even under the pressure, and then, wow, that throw. Just lowering herself to the ground, putting it out in front of Kawano to chase down and get the score. Nice little bit of pride for the Queens ladies to take from that one, to get back on the score, but it is 11-5. And the clock ticks ever closer to the end of the Canadian University Ultimate season.
So with only 8 minutes remaining here, Queens down 6 points, 11-5 to the reigning champions, and it is no wonder right now why they were the gold medalists last year as well, on their way. And you see Cloutier on the line, still constantly coaching this team despite being confidently ahead with not much time left. They are always thinking, always making adjustments, and that is the mark of a championship team.
Never stop, never rest, for that's when your enemies will catch you. Always pushing forward. 2-time champions. So if there's no one left for you to beat, then I suppose you just try to beat the memory of yourself. And they look fantastic right now. And you can really see how they benefit from the Quebec club scene. Over the course of the summer, they all play. A lot of them do play for CUUC, as we were talking about, also Karma, Quest, Kazar. But they all play over the summer, over those few months, keeping their experience, staying athletic. So the one thing they didn't have was an awful lot of experience in tight game situations together as this particular unit, but within it there are the pods of the players who know each other quite well, and more than that, there's going to be no rust when they started the very brief college season that we have here in Canada.
So McGregor puts that pull up for Queens. Queens getting some new faces on the field and involved in this final. Bergeron up line, putting an around flick. This one is going to be read so well and into the end zone. This time that flick is a perfect shot, as it had to be. Laval 12-5, 5 minutes on the clock.
Excellent stuff by Laval. And that, to me, is just a team that's got the wind at their backs. Full of confidence. That kind of stuff wouldn't have worked if they tried it at the start of the game. But right now, it feels like they can do no wrong. So put up your blady flicks to the end zone. We will be able to readjust and get the catches on them.
Laval only a few minutes away from a title. I'm sure they want to get this one all the way to 15. Could do so with some quick points. We've seen them able to get the disc back quickly on defense. We'll see now what their D-line can do.
So you see, nice to see the coach, Peter Galbraith, from the open side also coming over, not to coach or in any way kind of get in the way of Paul Renault, but more just to try and big up the Queen's ladies as they go back on that line, trying to help them find some of that fire so that they can at least go out in a blaze of glory rather than the whimper of a wisp.
Queens on offense, looking to keep some pride left in this final here as Turcotte puts up the pull. Bruce centers that to G, puts it around to Ramic. G going up line, but Ramic only had eyes for Moyer, and again, too low and too far in front of the receiver.
That was the most legitimate deep look I think they've had all game, and the execution was off. The execution was not off in all the other ones, the choice was off, but still it's that inability to get their deep game to connect that's led to this deficit.
That one escaping past the outstretched hands of Ramic and Laurent in possession. And then Ramic, a hand block, puts a stamp on it. G, just at the end zone line, looking for Moyer, who has so much speed, spikes the disc. Queens get themselves a hold, and a great point with the hand block there from Ramic.
So 12-6, and that's the kind of fire that they wanted to bring out of themselves, to make a good account of themselves here on the live stream, here for the people at home. Do their families proud, do themselves proud. And you can hear the sideline as well. A commendation to the overall club ethos that they have in Queens, cheering them on, lifting them up. They know what it's like to suffer disappointing losses just as well as the ladies do, and they are trying to give them their support in this moment.
Queens, the last couple points have started to show us more of what we saw at the start of this game as well. Unfortunately, Laval able to take advantage of that slump through the middle parts of this game. Queens can keep their heads up high. The likes of Ramic threw that huck away there, had such a good opportunity to Moyer, but going and getting it back with the hand block, that is exactly what you want to see.
Great to see Ramic back out there as well. I was a little bit concerned when she went down earlier in the match, and then she was absent for a decent swathe of it, and she's such an integral player. G did seem at times to be struggling somewhat without the help of that kind of auxiliary artillery the Ramic can bring to effect in the game.
McGregor unleashes the pull here. Cloutier will pick up. Centering to Bergeron, these two mainstay handlers together. Match defense again, as we have seen throughout the second half. Gagnon with the disc. Looks back to Cloutier, so good at making those upline cuts and then getting it back in the middle of the field for this Laval side. That one reeled in, a great catch there. Boucher, and now to the end zone. Cloutier, and no mistakes made when it matters. Grenier with the goal, 13-6, 2 minutes on the clock. We are looking at national champions.
Fantastic stuff. And that looked like national champions. Brilliant play, composed. You got to commend Queens, still on the pitch, still having a good time, not letting their heads drop. As we come to what one must imagine are the closing exchanges.
This game in its final moments, the horn set to go any minute now. So this will likely be the last point of the final. Laval will repeat as national champions at the Canadian University Ultimate Championships. There is the horn. So this will be the final point of the game.
And that also means that Laval are officially the champions. So a huge congratulations to them. As here come Queens. Go out with a bang. Send everybody deep.
G hits Ramic. Whitman going deep, and Ramic putting it up to her. This time it's perfect. That is exactly the throw Ramic wanted to make on the last one, and now Villeneuve-Smith to the end zone. Lana Ramic with the bid and the score. What a way to end this game for Queens. An incredible end. The team we thought we would see throughout the rest of the game. And Laval, as they celebrate, are national champions. They've repeated, come back and taken the gold medal.
Huge congratulations to them. Repeat champions. It is a difficult thing to do. Famous Irish sporting figure Paul O'Connell once famously said, it didn't really feel like we were the champions when we won the first time. It wasn't until we won the second time where I really let myself believe it. People can, to a small extent, fluke their way in one year, but you are undeniably undefeatable when you are able to go back to back. It's rarefied air, and it is something that Laval will get to breathe in for the rest of the year.
Credit to Queens for ending that with an exclamation point as well. Lana Ramich had a game and a half here, especially in the end, these last few points, the hand block, the layout for the final point. Got to give them credit for keeping their heads held high. A well-deserved silver medal. These two teams, definitely the best two teams here this weekend. A great final, but the credit all today, right now, the University of Laval repeat champions. For Becky Thompson here in the booth and Lorcan Murray, it's been a pleasure being with you all weekend. Our camera guy, Sam Watt, as well, doing a great job here today. And we will be back with you in the springtime. We've got indoor championships. Stay tuned on Ultimate Canada's website, social media. We'll let you know when we will be back. Thank you so much and have a good rest of your weekend.